So, good evening, friends, colleagues. Thank you for being here. We are addressing a topic that is in the papers every day. And I just saw that Elon Musk lost a law case against OpenAI. So let's hope that's good news. We are here on invitation of EAMBA. EAMBA is a collective of 35 mindfulness teacher associations in various countries on 4 continents. Many in Europe are part of EAMBA. There's a member in South Africa, in the United States, and there are members in the Middle East. So this is why EAMBA has been named Earth Alliance of Mindfulness-based Associations last October. If you haven't been here for a while, then maybe you didn't hear that. We are honoring the colleagues on the 4 continents. What we are doing is mainly bringing people together to make sure that in the local situations, teachers are supported by teacher associations, that they can work together, that they support each other, and that new projects can be started. Things are in some territories not very easy for mindfulness teachers. So the teacher associations are really important to support that teachers can work and learn from each other. Tonight, the topic is also addressing the question whether our work can be lighter by using artificial intelligence, and that we could concentrate on the core of our work, which is the art of teaching mindfulness, not the hassle of teaching mindfulness. And for that, we have my dear friend Stephan here, who has an education from Bangor University as a mindfulness teacher, but who in his former life was in IT. And in the last years, he combined those two professions. And one of the things that I have seen is what he calls Mindful Brian, a really great app that maybe you will talk about, I don't know, but if not, we can ask questions about that. And with this, I would like to hand over to you, Stephan, and ask you, please tell us, why are you here?
Yeah, thank you very much, Katarina. And yeah, I'm just looking at the faces of the people on the screen. Good to meet you all and see you all. Some faces I recognize, some new faces, which is always great to see. So this question of why am I here? I think it's going to take me a bit of time to answer, but it's as Katarina, you mentioned, I trained with Bangor University to teach mindfulness. And one of my first teaching cohort was actually a group of adolescents. So there were some adolescents, and with the training I was receiving from Bangor, we had to bring CDs and paper workbook to basically, our students. And some of them had never seen a CD before. So it was like, well, that's not going to work. And then I was looking at, is there a platform at the time that I can use to basically bring that, because they all had their telephones with them and they wanted the content of the course on their telephone. But there was nothing I could find that would actually host that in a way that I wanted to be my course to be represented to them. So that's the reason, having an IT background, I couldn't find a platform. I decided to build one. And why am I here today is because even though my journey started in 2018, so it's quite some years ago, now with the advance of AI, I have basically changed the processes that I use to basically build the platform and build the app. And now I'm able to basically share it more widely with the community. So that's the reason why I'm very privileged to be able to talk to you to, first show you a bit of what I have built and what needed addressed, and perhaps introduce a different way to provide the teaching to your participants. And then that's what we're going to talk about for the first 20 minutes. And then for the rest of the hour, we'll basically hear from you, and it will be really a discussion on where do you see the need for technology and AI in the field of mindfulness teaching. So that's about the agenda for tonight, and thank you for being here. I'm just going to start by sharing my screen, and I have a few slides. So that one you've seen already. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. So the basically the question I've been struggling with is how can mindfulness teachers reach more people without compromising the teaching? So on one side, so this is my own representation of how I see the field, and you may tell me later if you agree or not on this. But on one side, I see monks providing very deep breadth of practice and teaching, but then also having a very low reach. It's very difficult to actually train with a monk. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have for-profit corporations like Headspace and Calm that reach a lot of people. Every time I go on a United plane, I can actually get access to Headspace on the entertainment system in the plane. And this is like pissing me off, sorry for my language, but it's like what I don't see, what I would like to see is actually the world of our teaching, mindfulness teachers being represented, being in the entertainment system of United. Instead, I don't want a for-profit corporation there. So this is really my mission is how can we use digitalization to help increase the reach, but in such a way that actually the depth of the teaching that is provided by yourselves and is actually intact and can actually be scaled up. So to go back a little bit on what I will be showing you a bit more is the BeWell Catalyst platform. So Katharina mentioned about Mindful Brian. This is the application I created in 2018, back on the fact that people actually wanted, an app for the course, my course curriculum handbook. And then I was finishing the MSc at Bangor. Initially, I wanted to do an MA in teaching, but instead I turned into an MSc, and then I used the app as to test it with 5 8-week courses and 3 different teachers. So the app was tested in different backgrounds. And then after that, it was like, okay, what do I do with this? So we had good results. And the question is, okay, do I continue? Do I park it? And then Professor Rebecca Crane put me in touch with Dr. Carter Libares from UCSF Center for Mindfulness in Surgery. She had developed a program based on MBSR called Enhanced Stress Resilience Training, and she wanted a digital platform to release it to basically different teaching universities in the US, and now since this year, actually in Wales. So then that's how my partnership with Dr. Libares started. And then what we could prove here is that, yes, okay, it does work in the lab, it does work also in the field. But then I didn't have the infrastructure to really scale it up and to open it up to others. And this is what AI has brought to me as a kind of, solo business, so to speak, the ability to scale my operations to make it now available, to a wider community. And that's where we are in 2026. This is actually available. So now, when we talk about this BeWell Catalyst, so it's really been built to support your teaching and not to replace it. So it's not yet another mindfulness app. It's really is a container. And the way the container was built was looking at MBI tag and have a strong alignment to MBI tag. I assume everybody on the call would be, aware of that, but it's the mindfulness-based intervention teaching assessment criteria that's been developed, at Bangor University, especially that's looking at how can we measure basically good mindfulness teaching if such a thing, exists. But then it has six different domains, and there is very strong alignment with those six domains, and that was basically built in the design. And then the research that was done as part of the thesis showed that it has top quartile usability and usefulness. So that basically means that yes, people found it useful for their as a companion to their MBSR course. And now if we look at the message from the community that came up through that, testing and afterwards, I mean, we can see that one of the elements is that people felt more engaged with the content because they had the app with them all the time. And then they also found that the reflection and journal was useful. Well, you can tell me, well, there is nothing different. What's different? Because we recommend journaling and reflecting on the practice that we do. The difference here is to the app, actually, once the practice is finished, it automatically drives the participants to the journal and it automatically prompts for a reflection. So it's again reducing that friction point to kind of encourage, the teaching and the learning that we want our participants to have. And then this quote from Nick is, and then we'll look into that a little bit more, and that's more related to the AI capability, is there is a lot of content that we generate. The handbook, typically the workbook handbook, is actually contains a lot of material. But then this material, how do we make that usable as opposed to not just readable? And this is also what people have found is by having different modalities to engage with the content, it makes also the content much more usable. And that's a good leeway to kind of move on to how do we engage with the content on the platform from a participant point of view. So yes, there are reading materials, what we are very used to, but there is also video content that we can add there. And typically what I was surprised is, for example, at UCSF, most of the material is not reading materials. It's mostly short videos, 2 or 3 minutes, that basically are didactic videos or testimonial for from participants on their experience of the program. And that can be very effective, especially in today's world where we have very little, attention span. And then, of course, we have the audio content. And then, as I mentioned, there is also practice timer, but then, as I mentioned, it basically leads automatically to the journal and the interactive exercises. Now, alongside that, what was also bugging me a bit when I was teaching is that we have those 8 touch points, but then there is no group holding between sessions. I was like, well, now we have technologies, people were using WhatsApp, we can talk to the teacher. So all that now is built in the app, that there is a peer support community where actually participants of the course can talk to each other and possibly support each other. And then the AI chatbot is actually a chatbot that has been trained on the content that you put in the app. So it's not a generalist chatbot. It's an automatic way to kind of let the users engage through chat with the content that you have provided. And then there are reminders, of course, to gently bring people back to the practice, etc. So this is from the participant point of view. And now if we move from the teacher point of view, which is really about the administration burden, there is a whole lot of pain points in actually creating a course and distributing content. And this is what the platform actually helps, support. So yes, there is a step initially where your content has to be digitalized. It basically goes in the app in forms of a different set of activities. So those activities are templated. So you can create a template with the different sessions. And then once you have this template, you just push up over a button. You basically specify when the dates of the course are, the time of the reminders, etc. And then it creates a key. The key can be distributed to participants, and the participants can install the app. You give them the key, they get access to your content and not anybody else. Then, in parallel to that, the app actually measures the engagements of the participants. So there are engagement signals that are collected, And then you as a teacher have access to an analytics and AI insight dashboard. And that can inform you in two things. It can inform you on how are your participants engaging with the content during the course to support them along the way, but also it can help you update the content so that when you go to the next course, you can actually embed that learning. So that's really that feedback loop, which we hear a lot about, in different contexts, in different areas, continuous improvement loop. This is how we can actually enable it here. So the AI chatbot, because every time there is AI, people get like, "Ooh, okay, what does it do, and is it secure, and is it going to mislead my participants, etc." So the way it works is like this: you have a participants who ask questions, and the question can be in any language that they want. We do support quite a few. The question is received. We extract the meaning from the question. So that's in step two. So it's not word matching, it's actually extracting the meaning because the same question can be asked 50 different ways. That's what this meaning extracted is. And then we match that meaning against the basically content of your course. So there is the data, the course content is indexed. Again, the meaning of the course content is extracted, it's indexed. And then once we actually have that match, it basically generates the answer in the participant's language. And we go back. So it's really grounded in your content. There is no invented teaching. It doesn't invite mindfulness. The mindfulness is yours to basically say what you want to say to your participants. So now you can see you can have text, you can have videos, you can have audios, you can have chat as a new way to engage for your participants to engage with your content. So now, okay, now I'm just going to jump into a demo because it's been a lot of, words and abstract. But I just wanted to show you a bit what that looks like, and I'm going to demo it via Mindful Brian, which is one of the purposed app that is built on top of the platform. So we'll go first looking at the participant view. What do participants see? What do teachers see? And then looking at the analytics and the chatbot and the course creation. So let me just start. And even though on the slide you saw the phone version, I will actually show you the Mac version just because there is a bit more space for the Zoom meeting. All right. So this course has been, I uploaded a demo course that contained my very old MBSR 8-week course workbook. And this, because I'm logged on as a teacher, I have access to both views, the teacher mode and the student mode. So as a student, what you will see is basically the different weeks, sessions, like what you would expect, session 2, session 3, etc. And within each section, you can have, as I mentioned, a video. There is the description of the class when it's happening, and then you have the different content of the course. Okay. So that's what you can see once you complete an activity. For example, you can look at the poem, which is one of my favorite here. It does actually show that it's completed. And this is actually what will be used for the analytics later on. Okay, so that's the part, that's what the participants see, sorry. And here you have access to the body scan meditation because that's part of week 1. Also, when you jump to practices, you see all the practices that you have access to. In this case, it's just the whole, set of recordings, which would be your recordings. So all the content that you see here is not actually native to the app. This is really your content. The app is sort of what I provide. The content is what you provide, and it's accessible just to your participants, and it's not shared with anybody else. So when the practice is finished, or when we go to the journal, so it's a new, demo, there is no journal entry, but we can automatically create a new journal entry or actually we can add it from here. Now, I mentioned the community. So the community in this case would be this message board where you could have participants posting different messages. So that's all just to your course participants. So here you have the list of participants. They have actually put their name. So there is no sharing of email addresses. It's all, whatever name they share is actually what other people in the class will have access to. And then you can also send individual messages if you are being allowed if you have accepted to receive them. So that's what we have. And then if I switch on the teacher part, just on the analytics part, you will see the participant analytics side. So here you have all your participants. You can see what they have done, what they have been struggling with, but it's kind of difficult to read. So what you can do instead is go to the Insight tab, and over here you could actually have the AI generated um, insight that takes an anonymized view of the engagement, and then it basically gives you some recommendation. So, it says 4 AI recommendations: investigate the perceived difficulty of or time commitment for week 2 and 3 content, perhaps, through a quick anonymous poll. So it gives you some insights on what he thought was happening with the engagement or the course. And then you also have a message to participants, not that you would want to take that verbatim, but if you wanted to, you could just copy that message. Again, here, the idea is not to take something away from you, but it's sort of trying to help you with your teaching. So it's sort of, you should see that as basically a set of tools. And here you have like, okay, 2 participants inactive for 7 to 13 days. So those are the names. Then you can say, okay, maybe I should reach out to those guys to see what's happening with them. Okay, so that's basically the analytics part. Before I move on to the course management, I just wanted to go to the chatbot. So, one question that was on the slide is my mind keeps wandering. So, yeah, a lot. Okay, am I doing it right? Okay, so here you can say, when you say it, you don't actually, there is no description of what this it means. So we're going to send that to the chatbot and see what it comes back with. So thinking, 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 that's always the live demo. And okay, and now it comes back with this. So it's completely normal, da 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 da. And what you see here are references, and those references are basically references to the content of your course. So here is tip for the body scan, which is one of the articles that was, in the course, and that's basically where there is this, if you are distracted, gently return. So he basically took that knowledge and basically brought it back. But there is nothing here that is not referenced by anything outside of the content that you have put in your class. And now the way, just to finish on the course management, this is how you manage your course content. So in this case, you have the different activities. We're just going to take, I don't know, home practice week number 6. It doesn't really matter. So here you have the text, and just to show you, to add it to the AI chatbot is as simple as enabling that button. So there is nothing for you to basically do. The fact that you turn this off or on, it basically says, yes, I want this content to be included in the chat, in the AI chat, or I don't. So now if I take this out, you won't be able to use that content to return any information to the participants. So I just wanted to kind of conscious of time, I just wanted to end the demo over here. Let me just double check. Yes, that's about all I wanted to show on this one. So now perhaps the invitation is to I mean, we finished the formal, presentation part of the presentation. I just wanted to, sorry, let me share again the last slide I had on this. So that's my very last slide. And what I wanted to emphasize is I'm part of the community and I build that, you know, for the community. So without the mindfulness community, I am absolutely nothing. So this is really here just not to support me, but to support everyone. And so this is, going back to your question, Katarina, as to why I'm here. This is also a way for me to test with you where do you actually see the field going in terms of needing for digitalization, needing for AI. And so that I can basically understand, where and how to navigate the field. So this is where we are at now. Thank you for your attention. And now I would like to kind of open the floor to everyone by perhaps asking you to enter in the chat. Do, and if I could find, yeah, so type one word in the chat and what is your relationship with AI right now? Just to get a sense of, how you see AI. There are many different ways that people actually relate to AI, and it would be good to get a feel of the room. Yeah. Actively using daily, I use it every day. Ambivalent, yes. Thinking partner, yeah. And wonderful app, thank you. Very curious, not yet using it so much, yeah. Would like to use agents. Wow, okay. Yeah. So yes. Yeah, yeah, I am. Yeah, and so well, I mean, you are already using an agent, just to pick on that one. So even when you are doing the chat, this is one agent that basically is a chat. Now, of course, that agent can launch other agents to basically do the work. And yeah, Dalida, you mentioned thinking partner, and I think that's also a great point because I think my relationship with AI and the way I work with AI has really changed when I actually considered AI not as a tool, but as actually a collaborator, a partner. And I know it's a very weird thing to say because it's not human person, but now I feel that I'm working with a team, and the team is made up of agents. And if I see that each agent as a team member that I collaborate with, it really changes the perspective, the way I basically talk with AI and the value I get out of AI. So it's really more like on an equal parallel. When it gets even weirder is I had a conversation with a solicitor recently where I had basically Claude, which is the system that I use. So Claude was writing to my solicitor. They were understanding each other, but for me, I just couldn't understand what they were talking about. So it was so technical in the legal language that, I was it was out of my depth, but the solicitor understood what Claude was asking and checking, and then they could actually, and Claude said, yes, what the solicitor said actually makes sense. So now this is really getting very, weird where we are in this space. But yeah, so I mean, I also, realize, Teresa, I see ambivalent, and I think that's also a very good point. And I think there is a lot of, unknown for many different reasons. I mean, first, it's a very new technology, so it's like, what's going to happen? What is it capable of? I think one metaphor or one analogy I was I was reflecting on recently is when you have a child or when you see a child, you kind of know how the child is expecting to kind of develop over the years. So, their capabilities mature fairly, in a fairly understood way. But with AI, it's a little bit like seeing a child maturing, but in a very bizarre way. And kind of understanding what it actually is capable of, how should I relate to it and use it, etc., is very, very difficult to comprehend because it's actually evolving on many different dimensions in many different ways. So, okay, thank you for sharing with this. And maybe now, Katerina, if you're okay to launch the poll, or maybe I can do it myself. Sorry, I can do it myself. So let me just redo that.
Just tell me what you prefer. Yes.
Okay, no, yeah, I've just done it. So I'm kind of now curious to see if you are using it for your teaching, and especially the teaching of mindfulness. So we have not yet, but curious, yes, experimenting. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop here and you can basically look at the results. And could I invite one person who said that they were experimenting with it to basically come off mute and kind of describe a bit how you are experimenting with it? Yeah, Roger.
Roger.
Yes, so um, I'm using it for my website and to make the message more clear and to understand maybe the questions that may come up from my clients and to address them on my website. So um, in the course itself, I do not use AI. But definitely for everything which happens before. So my website was the first place where I started. And sometimes I also use it to compare different informations about mindfulness. So what is the difference between mindfulness and search inside yourself or so things like that. And uh, so I'm using it in my daily life very often, but in the MBSR context, only for my website at the moment. And when I saw your app, I thought this covers a new topic or some topic which I discover as very important, and that is the Sangha aspect. In the Buddhism, they always talk about you have to have a group to exchange, and we teachers we use it, we connect to each other. But the very often the 8 weeks ends, and then everyone says, "Oh, now it's over," and then everyone goes in all different directions. And maybe this is a big chance to make also a small sangha for the people attended the workshop or the seminar. I would say that is very important because it's the significant motivation that somebody goes on with meditation and not after 8 weeks, okay, that was a good experience and now I go back to my daily work. And so seeing that others are still doing something, it could be a motivation for others to continue meditation and having maybe new questions doing the meditation. And so therefore I think for the follow-up and that the people stay with meditation and not see it as a one-day fly and then it's just over. And so this is very good. And I like your app, so I don't see any points which I would add at the moment. And so the idea is very good.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. Yeah, I don't have much to add. I mean, I do realize what happens after the 8 week kind of cliff, and indeed that's also something that we have been talking about with Dr. Lebares, to provide kind of an alumni group for the participants, but also to bring that at the teacher level. So we could create the same at the people who are teaching the curriculum. So there could be different levels to basically create that Sangha that you're describing. So yeah. Oh, great.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Also for teachers to stay connected. I'm lucky that the Nest group where we started MBSR teaching is still working quite well. So about a half of the trainers are still linked together somehow, but the others I don't know. So maybe we're missing something. But I think it's very important as also as a teacher, you you also need an exchange, and
Mhm.
Eamba and maybe the local MBSR groups are important, but maybe also in smaller groups, peer helping. So as you had in the app inside, so a peer point, who are your peers and how trustful are they? Could they make a supervision with you if you struggle in with a client? And so this is, I think, a very important point. And if you're all on your own, I think you're missing. Then you're also teaching something which is not really. If you don't have yourself a sangha, how do you want to make that others get more connected to each other? And I think it's all about connectivity, which is lacking a bit today, and everything is a monolith, and everyone sees himself as a monolith inside there.
Mhm. Thank you, Roger. Roger, sorry. Anybody else who would like to share their experience or even curiosity experience of being curious? Yeah, Katharina.
I use it to improve my texts. So, for example, I have put my whole handout through AI and gave it prompts that the handout should be written for a particular target group, the group that I trained for that part. And it was really different from the first one. And I repeated that to have it rewritten for lawyers. So it's quite playful because I'm always very curious what the outcome will be and how it will be different while still keeping the core message. And I've now gotten into that fun part that I have a new client who is an insurance company. And so I will put the handout again through that process and ask to write for people who are in insurance and who are younger than 40. So the language might change. So that's one thing. I use it a lot for texts, but I do most of the time write my own text and then have it checked or have it tweeted or give it instructions on how the style or the subculture that I'm teaching or the age group is different. I read an article, actually several, that our brains would not benefit when we delegate all that kind of creative work and not do it ourselves. So I brace myself to not let go of something that I have developed a professional capacity, but I want the help to make my texts more readable. And then the third thing I use it for is to compare research publications. And since I don't have access to the academic database anymore, when I find a piece of research, I give Claude or ChatGPT prompts to check whether that research is genuine and whether there is more research on the same topic that would confirm the research findings. So that would cost me a lot of time. And while I was connected to the University of Leuven in Belgium, I had the possibility to simply ask a master student or a PhD student to do that for me. Well, now I asked AI to do that for me. But I'm very careful to put in prompts of don't fantasize, give me a proof, give me sources, things like that. So that's just for professional reasons, but I also use it for everything, like writing little poems for my grandchildren and well, everything. I play around with it because I feel that the more I play, the more ideas I get on how to use it. And then I ask people around me, especially young people, how they're using it, and then I go and play.
Yeah, thank you, Katharina. And I think that's, you're putting your finger on something that is very important to basically use AI not to cut out the fun. I mean, it's really like the creative aspect. That's what we want to keep doing. We don't want to delegate that to a robot. But then all the, okay, how to wordsmith this for that particular audience, well, it's perfectly mechanical. So yeah, let's delegate that as much as we can. And today I was attending a conference from Anthropic, the maker of Claude, and there was one of the person who basically said, yeah, every time I ask for a report, I ask the report to be written by a medieval knight in that language. And I said, this is weird, but it's like actually reading the output, it's actually quite fun because, that usually a status report is not really something that, really is very thrilling, but actually bringing a bit of fun, it doesn't, to AI, it doesn't make any difference. It does, and the content will still be the same, but then it just brings a different perspective and good way to actually see what comes out. Yeah. Thank you, Katerina. Teresa, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I have a question and a personal experience. So first of all, yeah, I use AI every day and I speak to AI so that it writes the text or she writes the text, depending, which comes more from immediacy. I like that. Anyway, I don't teach MBSR and BCT since, I don't know, 3 years. And I've been teaching the last 2 semesters, actually 3 semesters at a university. And it's a very specific segment maybe of students. So they study history, art. I think I'm back in the 70s. And some of them, they say, I don't want to use the phone. I reduce social media consume for 10 minutes per day. And after I finished this semester, there was an inquiry from the psychologist, which is organizing all this, to really offer an MBCT because there are a lot of students that are dealing with depression and anxiety, and to do a day of digital detox, to do the day of practice in nature, so where they don't use the phone. And actually, I have transformed MBSR because I have just 90 minutes and it is in a normal school environment, university environment, to adapt to this context. And one session was also as well a conscious use of phones, because this is the new generation. They are 20 and they are born with that. So, and then I would come with an app that brings, mindfulness. It's my personal ethical quest, but I say this is a very special segment of students. If I would go maybe in the I don't know, in the law department, it's a different story. So yeah, this is, Stephan, my personal sharing. So I use it daily in a mindful and conscious way, and just to support me, not to dominate me. But I was not born with this technology. The inquiry is, what's about these kids? They are 3 now, 4, 5. They will go in schools where AI is their reality. That's a bit my inquiry as well.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa. And yeah, I can't talk to those children. It's going to be very different life for them, for sure. Sometimes I'm kind of lucky I'm kind of grown up already because I'm kind of fearing what is to come. But yet at some other time, I feel this is actually the most exciting time of my life. I thought when I was a kid and new computers were coming out, that was the most exciting time in my life. But actually now I think this is also so exciting what the possibilities are. But how are we going to use that so that it benefits us all and not leave anybody behind? That is really definitely a question. And the other one is, as you said, it's like there are times for it, there are times where we should leave that behind and kind of come back to our sources and not forget ourselves in basically in the technology and all this, because this is also, a good source of burnout. I mean, one quote I will just, well, I can't tell you who I'm quoting, unfortunately, I forgot the name, but it basically said, well, okay, AI was there to help, solve my problems, give me a lot of free time and all that, but actually it's not doing any of that stuff. And the reason for that is because now it's so much easier to do things with AI than it was before, that it's very easy to actually do even more than what we used to do. And that's also very slippery slope to say, well, okay, we can manage our website with AI, we can create an app. You hear everybody saying, yes, okay, you can create an app in like a weekend. Well, that's, a year and 3 months ago, I said it's going to take me 3 months to create the platform that you saw, and it took me 3 months plus 1 year. So it's really, it's still very much a work in progress to work with AI, and it does actually create also a lot of work to learn the technology and for the technology to learn how we want it to be used. Yeah. But thank you for Teresa. Yeah. So I would like to just over the next couple of sorry.
Yes, go ahead. I just
No,
wanted to ask something.
No, go ahead, Katrina.
Well, I saw that Marta, you wrote in the chat that you use it regularly. So I was curious how you use it. And Marianne, you wrote that you want to use agents. So since we are a small group, maybe you can share what you're using it for, Marta, and what you are anticipating, Marianne.
Thank you very much. So I use it every day because apart from being a mindfulness teacher, I'm also an English teacher, English language teacher. So I use it mostly for, preparing materials or preparing like revision of words. So that's the main reason I'm using it. And also I learned about ChatGPT from, materials for English English language. But nowadays I also use it to improve texts for social media because I'm not very good at writing, posts on social media. So I have some ideas like what I want to write about, and I actually say it to ChatGPT, which is trained for writing posts that should be more interesting. And I just ask it, I give it some, ideas, and I ask it to prepare a post, and it prepares a post, and then I check it and I edit it. So yeah, I use it for writing posts. And I also used it or I use it for writing text on my website as well. Yeah. That's the main thing. And I don't use it for like meditation scripts or for teaching as such. Maybe sometimes when I have a workshop for a company, I maybe discuss with it, or I ask it to come up with some ideas about the content or about, the structure of a workshop. But I mostly rely on myself. I use it for inspiration.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. And before we hand over to Marianne, I just wanted to comment on that, because writing is always something that I have been wanting to do for some time, but it takes me so long to basically write in proper English, English not being my first language, and then in French, which is my first language, it will still take me a lot of time because my grammar and spelling is not great. But what I have done is kind of customize a version, not just to write a post, but to handle the whole publishing workflow. So it starts by having a funnel, so having an area with all the different ideas. So whenever I have an idea for a new article or post, I basically put that in the funnel. And then there is a stage, which is a sorting stage, where I say, okay, now I want to pick one. Then me with AI, we basically go to evaluate, the different whatever is in the funnel. And then it goes through a process of interviewing me. So I generate the content by basically being interviewed by AI, and then AI will basically talk back to me saying, okay, did you mean this or did you mean that? Which option would be closer to actually what you mean? So it goes a bit in a V funnel, and then once we have the article ready, the next phase is the publishing, the editorial review that basically checks the way is it spoken or written in the way I speak and write. So that's the editorial review, and then the part below is the fan out to publish to website, LinkedIn, or whatever. So that has been kind of completely digitalized via Claude as a process. And that links a little bit to the question about agents, which is the reason why, because this is one of my agents. So it's a publishing agent. I knew absolutely nothing about publishing. AI came up with that process, and I saw somebody on YouTube basically mentioning that. I said, oh, that's a good idea. I gave that to Claude and said, yes, I would fit perfectly fine, well, what you were trying to do. And that's how it got started. Marianne, putting you on the spot now.
What you're saying is just making me dream. I'd like to have an agent to do all that my publishing work, and take my ideas which are scattered everywhere, and then maybe organize a calendar so that my posts make sense, or have maybe close to a MBSR, would be more on MBSR and the starting of the program, and then it would become something else once the program has started. So that is something I'd like to learn about, but I don't know where to look, because there are so many proposals and so many offerings that sometimes I get lost, and I waste time trying to find the proper way to look into the subject. And then I'd like to have an agent that does all the administrative task of answering emails, and having people that want to go in orientation class be put in a specific place where I could have all the people, and then remind them the day before, and do all the things for me which I do on with my own mind. I'd like to delegate all the work, all that type of work, and having to send reminders, and or even before day one of the MBSR or session one of the MBSR program. There are lots of things I send. Remember to have raisins, and to have this, and to have a yoga mat, or whatever. And I do the same process so every time. And I'd like to have an agent do it for me. That's my dream. But I feel lost right now, because my daughter works with Notion, but I just can't cannot get a hand on Notion so far.
I've tried for many years. I still don't understand Notion, so yeah, I do. But yeah, I mean, we can take that offline, Marianne. I'm happy to discuss with you, yeah, what's possible. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, yeah, for sharing.
Maybe we can put up, Stefan, maybe we can put up a small list to participants because there are reliable companies that offer guidance in getting more AI savvy. And that also give you tools to create the things that you just mentioned. That it's just like a domino going from one to the other. And once you have done it, you don't have to do it every time. But there are companies who are reliable.
Yeah. Sorry, I realized, Dalida, Suzanne, anything you would like to share? We have a few more minutes. There is no point introducing something else. And maybe Viviane, if you are with us.
Oh, yeah, thank you for all the ideas. It's quite interesting. I recently heard of a group of teachers who didn't know how to code, used AI to create their app, and it did. So without any coding, with AI, actually, they created app exactly as they wanted it. I don't know the details of it, but four of them got together and they knew exactly and it's web-based app, and they are now working with it. So I think this is fascinating for me as well. And when you asked if I use it for my teaching, my immediate answer was no. But then I realized that everything that was mentioned, I use it that way as well. And then it's very interesting how I separate teaching is teaching, and it's kind of like no AI enters in there. But actually I use it. So I had quite of a paradigm shift there. So thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you, Dalida, for mentioning that. I mean, it's funny because that was actually my last article. It was like, okay, behind the AI glitter, yes, you can create an app in a weekend, but then, can this app hold personal identifying data? How do you make sure that it's not hackable by people? It's like what I've just shown you. You have a journal. In the journal, there is actually a mood tracker. So people can actually enter their mood. You don't want that to kind of leak to the public. And then to get that approved by, Google, Apple, to get on the App Store, it takes some work. So that's the part that, there is like always a bit of a hype, say, oh yeah, I can create that so easily, which is, yes, you can create a proof of concept very easily, but to actually make that a robust app is not, something super easy if we want, especially in our field where we actually, touch on health, basically information. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what I experienced, and I will lean into the example, Stefan, where we created a website. It looked as if you just give some content to Claude and it will create a website. And then Stefan luckily did that technical part, but it was still quite some work. And when we wanted to change something, the prompts had to be very, very specific. Remember, we edited text and everything was put in there, and then nothing happened. And then you found out that, oh, the AI also needed the prompt deploy. And then only we saw that it happened. So the editing is not it's not evident. I mean, it all looks as if AI will do the whole job, but it's not yet there. Not yet there. It simply was a lot of work for you, Stefan, to do that part that so-called AI would do.
Yes, yeah. And one of the reasons for that is because I don't have an AI agent for it. So it's like it's basically there is no specific set of skills that I've defined beforehand to say, okay, if I tell you that, this is what you have to do. And then because of that, he was kind of missing different steps. But then to create those skills, it takes sort of, yeah, I mean, it's an art. And but that's another conversation on how to use AI. Um,
Stephan, before I started asking questions to hear Marta and Marianne, you wanted to switch to a new topic. We do not have to stop because it's on the hour. If people want to be here, or if you have something that you would like to share, just to know that there's flexibility here.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I don't know where everybody's mind and timetable is. I think we had a good discussion. What I was planning to see is actually how do you see technology and AI, uh, infusing your work in the next year or so, and what you had in mind there. But I think that's, opening up a whole new discussion. So if anybody is interested in discussing that, then yes, please stay on. Otherwise, yeah, we can close. Yeah.
And also, please remember that there will be an Ayamba festival on the 7th of November, which will address the question of how human wisdom relates to AI. So we are going to address both parts, the part of where it is helpful, very practical, but also the more philosophical part and contemplation on where are we? What is this time asking from us? And what can we ask from the technology that is offered to us? So maybe mark your calendar. It was in the last newsletter, and there will be more information in the next newsletter. And Stephan will be one of the speakers. But if you want to bring cases, we will ask participants to bring cases and to give short presentations. So maybe that would be something, Marta, that you would like to do, or Roger, that you would like to add to. And Suzanne, if in the meantime you have some experience, you're most welcome to share that. It will be really interactive, making sure that the community speaks and that we discover what teachers need, and then find out whether we can find experts to cater to those needs. What are your passing words, Stephan?
Well, first of all,
Not passing, parting.
I don't know. Maybe you know something I don't know.
Sorry.
But thank you, Katarina, to for inviting me. It's been my pleasure to basically talk with all of you, and as you can maybe sense, bridging the gap of technology and mindfulness teaching, especially, it's there is a big gap for many different reasons, and it's always been a passion of mine to kind of bring those two together, because I think both sides can really benefit from the other, and it's like, how can we build a bridge that is kind of big enough to bring everybody together? So thank you very much. And if you are, of course, interested in any of those topics, in addition to the festival, I'm always very happy to talk and work with you, because without this community of mindfulness teacher, there is nowhere for me to go. So yeah, I'm really there to support you, and also to learn from you on what is needed in the field. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephan. It was very enjoyable. And dear colleagues, we will publish contact details to you, Stephan. So maybe if you want to be involved, or if you really want to use the app, then get in touch with Stephan. We will try to find a way to make that safe. With maybe a website or something where people can find you, or a LinkedIn profile, So you have possibilities to find Stephan for further exploration of how you could use this app. And with that, thank you very much for being here, and hope to see you soon. Good evening and enjoy the day.
Thank you
Goodbye.
very
Yes.
much.
Thank you, Stephan. Thank you, Katarina, for organizing. I'll see you next time.